Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials. And it is Wednesday the 12th of June, and I'm recording here in Sydney, Australia. So I don't have any finished objects this week, so I thought I'll jump straight into my friend from the vault, which is what I'm wearing. And this is the Fern and Feather sweater by Jennifer Steingass. And I knit this out of Madeleine Tosh Vintage in the colorway Venetian. That's the main color, and the contrast color is Antler, and that's in their Madeleine Tosh MCN worsted, which is similar in gauge to the Venetian. So this is a I didn't actually have very much of the Venetian. I only had 3 skeins, and so I had to make it quite, I'll show you, I had to make it quite cropped and sort of bracelet length sleeves just to be able to use all the yarn I had. But I was so in love with the pattern. I made this in 2018, and I just wanted to use yarn and I wanted to make it straight away with yarn that I had in stash. Unfortunately, I don't wear it very often because it's so cropped. I think I had in mind that I would wear it with dresses. I'll stand up and show you so you can see. So I knit the 33-inch size, and it's meant to be quite long actually, and not fitted like this. I ended up, I did sort of a stylistic choice based on the amount of yarn I had, and I just did all of these waist decreases and then did this deep ribbing. And I don't really like deep ribbing on myself. I just don't, I don't know. I think I had in mind to wear it over dresses maybe. So I've just got it on with some high-waisted jeans, but it only just sort of covers, and obviously I normally have a t-shirt underneath it, but it is, you know, it's very fitted. Actually, I will just put down below what the actual bust circumference is measuring. Yeah, like I used all the yarn that I had. So I'm not really sure, it's like, I just love this. In fact, I just saw my daughter when I was about to come over and start recording, and she's like, oh, you look nice. And I think it must be this like lovely yoke detail, but I'm not sure what else I could do aside from perhaps shortening, like it's knit top down. I could take back the ribbing, but then obviously if I didn't do all these waist decreases, it would be even shorter unless I stole some yarn from the sleeves and made it just a top, which I could do. I definitely could do. I could make it either elbow length. Maybe that's what I'll do. Because the gauge is so large, I think it's like an 18 stitch gauge. This is not a lot of knitting. So even if I ripped it back up to here, it's actually pretty, and took some yarn off the sleeves and just knit it straight. I don't know, I just don't want to put a bunch more time into something and then not end up wearing it. But I just think this is a really lovely design. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's all I was going to say about it. I think it's so pretty. I could see myself making another one, but perhaps more, I'll put a picture of the actual, what it's meant to look like, if I had enough yarn. So yeah, but it's very lovely knit, and this is actually, it is next to Skin Soft, this yarn, the vintage, so I could definitely change it to a short sleeve top and just wear it, yeah, more just as a top with a skirt for work, or you know, with jeans or something on the weekend, but not as fitted. Anyway, something to think about. That's my friend from the vault, and I really have barely worn it since I made it. Might have worn it once, and I made it 6 years ago. So anyway, that's my friend from the vault. So I don't have any finished objects this week, but I do have quite a bit of work on my works in progress. I don't have any new whips. So I'm going to start with Charisma. So this is Charisma by Storey, which is a free pattern. And I've made quite a bit of progress on this. I'm using Rowan Selects Patina, which is the recommended yarn. And this is the colorway Confetti. I'm using a smaller needle, which is a 3.5mm needle to get gauge, and I am on gauge, both stitch and row, which is 22 stitches over this sort of knit 3 and then knit 2 together yarn over versus a yarn over knit 2 together vertical design, which I think is really pretty, and it's really pretty in the yarn. So where I was last week, I think I'd only just got up to this, it's a very batwing sweater, and I'm just doing this straight section on the sleeves, for the sleeves now. One thing that I noticed when I was doing it though, is, can you see on the end, I actually didn't have any of that lace in the section. I was a bit worried that maybe it would be too close. with the lace, you can see I've got it now. I do have 2 stitches on the edge, and I'm going to need 1 edge stitch to pick up for the cuff. So that is enough, as long as I've got 1. In fact, 2 is probably perfect. And then I have the same on the other end. But I started and I didn't have any of that. I actually just had all of this solid stockinette. And then I was like, let me have a look at the design. And I wonder maybe if I should have had, and if you look at just near the cuff, can you see that there is actually lace right up to the cuff on both sides? And so for me, I wouldn't have had that. I would have had this big section of stockinette. So I actually ripped back. So I put the 2 edge stitches on a, just like a little clover clip, and then dropped down these 2 stitches. I dropped it down 10 rows, and so dropped the stockinette down 10 rows. So I had 10 like ladders going across, and then I turned those ladders into, on one row, knit 2 together, yarn over, and then a couple of purls. Then the next row, a yarn over, knit 2 together, then a couple of purls. And so I decided to do that because I just thought it would look a lot nicer. It was quite tricky to do with this yarn. It was quite sticky. So as I was undoing it, I was really having to pull it out. But I managed to get it, and I'm really proud of myself. And it actually didn't take that long. The main thing is just making sure you don't lose any extra along the way. And because it was so sticky, it was pretty easy once I pulled it through. It was reasonably secure. So I'm about halfway to where I need to be going up the sleeve, and then I need to start doing the shoulder shaping. So I'm knitting the 32 to 34 inch size, which is the smallest. It's a free pattern, but that's all there is in the pattern. And it's a lot of, you know, decrease at the neck edge, but it doesn't tell you how or how many stitches in. So I ended up drawing, and I also don't want to do the stair step bind off. So with the, where you bring in the bat wing and the shoulder shaping, there's a lot of rows where you would just bind off 6, bind off 6, bind off 6, bind off 6, and you'd have a lot of stair steps to then mattress stitch together. And in this yarn, not that I wasn't looking forward to doing that, I was never going to do that. So I actually drew out a little mapping of all of the rest of the rows, because what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do short row shaping. So instead of finishing that last purl row, turning and binding off 6, on the row previous, I think I actually have to bind, for my size, I have to bind off 5 for a little while and then 6, but for other sizes, it's 6 the whole way, I think. Anyway, for whatever the bind off is, I'll be on the previous row knitting up to that amount and then turning my work and doing a short row treatment. Now with the German short row, I'll have to knit like 1 less, because then you move a stitch over. But aside from that, the idea is that on the row prior, you just knit up to that point and then turn. So instead of binding off the stitches, they're just hanging, like not hanging, but they're still on the needles on the end. And you're getting, as you can see what I've done here, I've got these less and less. So those stitches are still going to be there. They're not bound off, but they're just not going to be worked on until you get all the way down to here. And then there's quite a bit of like just the back neck shaping. And I just wanted to make sure I knew, particularly because I'm doing everything a row prior, I was like, okay, so when it says this many stitches, what am I doing? So I just mapped it all out, particularly because Beck and I are both working on it together. I wanted to have that all sorted, and I knew exactly what I was doing before I started. And then on the final row, I would just purl back along all of those live stitches to connect all of, so you've got it all like this, getting short, you've got less and less stitches, and then you leave this section and you work one side, and then you get to the end, and then you actually have to purl all the way back to have like one final row, which I would then do as a 3 needle bind off. Sorry, once I've done the others. So this is the back. Once I've done the front, I would then do a 3 needle bind off with the back and the front with all those live stitches. So it avoids mattress stitching, which I think, I don't mind mattress stitch, and I actually quite like it on a smooth yarn, but I think I would really find this quite a bear with this yarn, and especially with the stair step bind off. So I'm pleased that I've mapped all that out. And I think because I've done that now, I'm quite excited to like get to that point. So I've got about another 20, a few rows more, maybe 25, 26 rows, but I am making progress, and yeah, I'm really happy about that. And I think it's going to be really lovely. But I still think like this is this is only half, this is only half the garment, and I haven't even finished this, I haven't got to the shoulder shaping, I haven't done the front, I have to do the cuffs, I have to do the ribbing down. This is not a quick knit. And I know I'm knitting lots of other things as well, but I don't have to pay heaps of attention anymore. I've kind of got the pattern down now. The only thing actually that I will say is a real bit of a pain is counting the rows. So normally I'm quite happy counting rows. I can just, count, the V's going up, but the yarn's really fluffy. I'm counting sort of from this edge stitch. It's quite tricky. So I have got this little row counter, but like sometimes I forget to turn it, and so I end up going all the way back down to the bottom and counting all of the holes from the bottom, and I'm like, okay, these were the first 4 rows, and then these were these increases. Like, I need to actually have a better system. So I thought actually this is a good time to mention this. I noticed whenever I watch Kim and John, quite often they talk about these twice sheared sheep row counter things that are actually like markers that they keep on their needle, and then every time you do another row, it's got all these numbers down it. And I thought, what a great idea. I don't have anything that kind of would work like that. I suppose you can thread yarn. People talk about that, like threading yarn sort of every 10 rows or whatever. But honestly, then I'd forget to thread it or whatever. Something that you just move and change as you do it is a much better system. So I actually reached out to Twice Sheared Sheep and asked them if they would be willing to send me something so I could try it out, and then if I liked it, mention it on the podcast. And yeah, they were really happy to, which is really lovely. So they're going to send, I don't know if they've sent it already, but I think they have sent me a package, so I get to try out the row counters. And they also sent me some other things in there to try as well. So I'm super excited. I just find with knitting, for years I used, scraps of yarn as stitch markers and, inexpensive tools that things took a little bit longer because they weren't as, they just weren't as good quality. So, or that they were just workarounds. So I'm really, it probably wasn't, once I started buying stitch markers and a few different things, I was like, this is so much easier. Why? Because, like those little yarn ties that I made for stitch markers, they'd come off or they'd get caught in the yarn or whatever. Anyway, so I love using good tools. So I'm very excited. And anything that's going to make the knitting experience easier or less for me to remember or less capacity to make mistakes, because I carry this around with me and then I'm like, where's my marker? And I'm like, oh, it's somewhere around here. And then I do a couple of rows somewhere else and I'm like, oh, I forgot to change the marker. Anyway, all that being said, I'm very excited to try a better system where I have to, keep less in mind and wasting time, counting up rows again for the umpteenth time. So that is Charisma by Martin Storey, and I'm getting there. I'm really hoping to at least be started on I think once I start the shoulder shaping, I actually think I'm going to be like, maybe even work exclusively on this until I get that done. I think sometimes when things sort of come to a bit of a, decreasing rows and a change in the pattern, I can see myself really just getting going on that one. So that is Charisma. Another work in progress that I have is Snow Wonder by Heidi. Oh, sorry, the yarn's just poked through. Snow Wonder by Heidi Kirrmaier, and I'm knitting that out of Rerum, Natura, Gilliat in the colourway Ciel. And I've worked out I'm pretty much knitting the size S2, which is coming out at a 38-inch bust, so 6 inches of positive ease for me. The gauge is 19 stitches and I'm on gauge. So I haven't made, if you saw this last week, I haven't made any progress since last week, so I'll just hold it up rather than try it on. And I think because Charisma and Snow Wonder are both in that I need to sort of pay attention a little bit category. Charisma's been getting the attention instead of Snow Wonder because I'm doing a knit along with my friend Beck, and she's way past where I am. She's onto the shoulder shaping now, so I'm trying to catch up. So, but I do love this, and I think it will be great because the weather's gotten really cold here. It's really windy, and it's like 5 degrees Celsius in the morning, which is it's pretty chilly, especially when you're getting ready and going to work at that hour, at that temperature. So yes, I will be, this is probably more suited for the current weather, but I would like to get Charisma done as well. Obviously, all of these things. So that's Snow Wonder. The next work in progress, I've actually made quite a bit of progress because this is a mindless knit now for me, and that's the Petite by Petite knit, and I'm knitting that out of Sandnes Garn Sunday and Tynn silk mohair in the colours 4008, and I absolutely love this colour. I'll hold it up and show you, and then I think I will actually try it on because I've made enough changes that it's worth me trying it on. So I've actually done the collar. And the collar is meant to be a double fold collar, and it's also meant to have, I'm just going to grab the needles so they don't, it's meant to have, oh, I swear, I thought I had grabbed them and I had not. Okay, I don't swear actually. But anyway, so that's the collar that I've done, and there was meant to be a pearl ridge between, and it's also meant to be a folded collar, but I just did a single collar, and I did didn't do the extra rows. I did 10 rows of 1 by 1 rib. I thought about knitting it inside out, and then I thought, actually, no, I quite like, you can see that's what it looks like inside out. It's a little bit neater, but I'm quite happy with this, particularly with the mohair. 2 rows of double knitting, and then a tubular bind off. Yes, so a couple of setup rows of double ribbing and then a tubular bind off. And I have split for the sleeves, and I've only done just a tiny little bit. And my gauge, I'm knitting the 35.5 inch bust circumference, which on a 23 stitch gauge, yeah, that's the smallest size, 35.5 inches, but my gauge is a bit tighter. I'm getting 25 stitches. So if that stays true, it will end up being about 32.5 inches. And you'll see when I try it on, I think it's actually pretty, not roomy. It's roomy, not oversized, but it's roomy. So it's not going to be it's not going to be snug up underneath my arms, which I actually think I probably wouldn't want with this woolen mohair for a t-shirt. And that's why I decided not to do the double fold collar, because I thought for a t-shirt, I think I'd rather just a single fold. But I will do the sort of elbow length sleeves. So I'll just pause and try it on. Right, so I've just got it on over a white camisole. I would wear it probably without anything on underneath. And so you can see it's fitting, mohair. You can see it's fitting quite well. I haven't blocked it or anything, but that will sit a little bit flatter when I've blocked it. And I've only just split for the sleeve, so there's not a lot. But you can see it's, there's enough room here where it's not right up underneath my armpits. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. I'm really loving the color. And yeah, and so right now it's just straight down. So this is a super easy knit. You can see it's got a really lovely shoulder detail here, and that's the back neckline there. And yep, and so I will do the elbow length sleeves like in the pattern, and I have plenty of yarn. So yeah, really happy with how that's coming out. I think the neckline looks really good. It's about the same size as the double folded collar, just not double, right? So yeah, so it's not too high up around my neck, because the way it's sort of, the back is higher than the front with the with the way it's constructed. So that is the Petite by Petite knit, and I have one more work in progress to try on, and that is Camisole number 9. Right, so this is Camisole number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I'm knitting it out of Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the colorway Bark. And where I was last week is I had one side done with the sleeve, and I hadn't finished the edge treatment for the second one. So I finished that and sewn it down, and I actually got a lot quicker at that. My first one took me 2 hours. My second one only took me an hour. So that was much better. Yeah, so I'm happy about that. And this is about as far, this is where I blocked it up to here. Obviously I haven't blocked the edges here, but I blocked it up to here. You can see that it's high-ish there, but for me, I like that. So then you won't be able to see. I think it would have been better if I had have been either magic looping or too circular, like if the gauge on this was as tight as the gauge on this. So here I was using two 2mm circular needles, whereas here I just used 160cm circular needle, and my gauge was definitely a lot looser. So if I was to do this again, not anytime soon. Can you see it's sort of coming out just a little bit? So I think it's going to be fine, but like if I was doing it again, I would like that just a smidge tighter in gauge. So again, just like the poppy tee, this one is now in, because all of the finishing stuff is done, all of the yucky bits are out of the way. It's just the happy bit straight down and a folded hem, so that's going to be really quite easy. So I'm hoping, I'd love to get this finished for next week. So, you know, if I do enough knitting where I can, you know, I'm reading knitting, because this is perfect for reading knitting, just around, hopefully I'll get this one done for next week. Because no finished objects for this week, so that would be really nice to have a finished garment. Haven't had a finished garment in a while. And I think my last work in progress is the, let me see, where is it? It is the Oslo hat with mohair. I'm just trying to think, did I mention anything about this? Oh, sorry, I did forget to mention, I'm knitting the 27.25" size, and my gauge is a tiny bit looser than that because it's measuring at 28.5 inches around, so that's still 3.5 inches of negative ease, which I think is fine for a top like this. That's probably pretty much spot on to it. So, because I was originally going to rip back and cast on more, less stitches under the arms, but I actually think that's totally fine, and I think it's going to be a really wearable camisole when I get it done. So, and I'm using one needle size, even though my gauge is a bit bigger, I'm using one needle size smaller, 2.75mm needles for the body and 2mm for the pickup. And it's the knitting for olive cotton merino. I really love working with it. I find it's really nice to knit with, it's really nice to wear, and I think it's beautiful fine gauge summer yarn for summer tops. I love that, and I would definitely get more of that yarn. So my last work in progress is the Oslo hat with mohair, and I'm knitting that out of Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair, and the colorway is both ballerina. And I've done the brim, attached that, done the rows turned, and I think I've got about another 20 rows before I start the decreases. And I do have some extra of another fluffy yarn that should work if I start to run out at the top, because I only just had enough with the soft blue. So, but yeah, that's coming along nicely, and that's just my portable playground duty knitting, and that's it for my works in progress. And I'm going to get changed back into something warmer. Right, that's better, that's a bit warmer. Right, so up to my tip of the week section. This tip comes from Donna. Somebody was asking for a good substitute for the Rowan Selects Patina yarn, which, because this is now discontinued, and I didn't have any thoughts initially, but Donna mentioned that there's a website called Yarn Sub, which I didn't know about, and I'm very happy to know about it now. So you put in the name of the yarn that you would like a substitution for, and it comes up with a whole range of options, and it also tells you what the percent similarity is, what the differences are, what the gauge is, you know, compared to the two, the amount of meterage difference between the balls, the content of the yarn. It's a fantastic website. So I'll put a link to that below, and thank you, Donna, for that suggestion. So if anyone is looking for a yarn that's, particularly if it's something that's discontinued or just, you know, not easily accessible, I think that's a really great resource. So that's our tip of the week. My next section is acquisitions, and so I actually got a gift from my mum. She came back from overseas and she gave me this cashmere scarf that she got in England. I think it's made in Scotland. Let me see, where's the tag? It's made in Scotland, Scotland, yes, Kiltarney, and it's 100% cashmere, and it's, you know, my mum knows me, it's got greys and pinks, which I love, and it's so beautiful and soft. So yep, that's an acquisition which is a gift from my mum. And the other acquisitions actually are also gifts. I haven't actually bought anything. I actually have made some purchases, they just haven't arrived yet, but I haven't bought anything myself. But some people really generously gifted me some patterns that were in my Ravelry wish list. And so Ursula gifted me the Shore Tea, which I mentioned, and that's by Anne Wenzel. And yeah, so, and I really wanted to make that. It looks a lot, actually, the vertical lines look a lot like the Kirrmaier, just with a deeper section of, or a wider section of stockinette in between. And so yeah, I'm so excited about making that. And it hasn't arrived yet, but I did buy some yarn from Sunspun for that, so I did put in an order. But I'll show that yarn when it comes. But so thank you very much Ursula. And another gifted pattern was the Roots and Shoots sweater by Teti Lutzak, and that was from Chantal. And yeah, that looks beautiful. Like was in my wish list, so it's something that I wanted to make. And it uses Nutiden yarn and mohair held together. And I do have some Nutiden yarn in stash. I don't have two colors that would complement each other, so if I did use the Nutiden, I'd have to use something else. So you could use a light fingering weight with a mohair, because I think that's the Nutiden. Actually, I'll just grab it because I've got one of it here. So that's the Nutiden. It's that you know, unspun, very thin but very breakable. So I think often people knit it either held double or with a mohair together, just for a bit of durability. So it doesn't sort of, from what I hear, it can really break as you knit it. So yes, thank you very much for that, Chantal. So I'm very keen to make that, and her designs are so beautiful. The other thing that was gifted to me was, another pattern that was gifted to me was the clay sweater by Ozetta, and Gay sent that to me, and I actually have yarn for that picked out already. So that was really exciting. Like you know, to get the pattern for yarn, I have this BC Garn Loch Lomond that I got from Skein Sisters. So I think that would look really nice with the clay sweater. And then just this morning I saw Ali gifted me the Grow hat, which was on my, so I feel like it's my birthday all over again. It's not even May anymore, so it's not even my birth month, but it was really lovely. So the Grow hat, Ali obviously knows I like to knit hats. It's a really pretty hat with this lovely design. So it's mostly a simple hat with just this little cabley design. It looks so nice, and it's got a 19 stitch gauge, but I actually think this, if I have any left over from the clay sweater, this could work really well for the Grow hat. So yeah, so thank you, Ali. So yeah, thank you everyone for those lovely gifts. I love getting new patterns as well, even if I'm not quite ready to knit them, to get them and then to start planning, because even in Ravelry, there's like some information about the pattern, but it's not as full as you might like. You don't necessarily have the schematic or the full amount of, they might just say this many balls of yarn, but not necessarily exactly how many meters. And you're trying to work out, do I have enough stash for that? Or is that like 4.5 balls or all of the 5 balls? Or yeah, so yeah, very excited about it. And I just love, you know, reading patterns as well and seeing like, how's it constructed. And yes, so anyway, thank you very much. That's my acquisitions for the week. I did make some yarn purchases, so from Sunspun and a couple of other places, but I'll just mention them when they come in. So I mentioned the Sunspun one because, the Sunspun one, because that was particular yarn for the shorty. So I'm getting ready to knit that too. But I don't think I could see myself, I'd get myself quite confused if I was knitting that at the same time as Charisma, because this is knit 3 and then the lace, whereas, yeah, they'd be too similar and I'd get myself confused. And anyway, I need to finish this too so that I can catch up with Beck. Right, so I'm up to what has caught my eye. This next pattern totally just, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the styling, and I think sometimes I get drawn to that as well, is the Pyramid Light. It's a top, but the way it's styled, initially when I first saw it, I thought it was a dress because it's like a off-white but over a white skirt, and it's got like a hat in front of it. So I didn't really notice that it wasn't a dress, it's actually just a top. But it did make me think, oh, that would be really nice as a dress. So it's knit out of Barocco Remix Light, which it says it's a DK weight yarn, but 100 grams is 395 meters. So to me, that's like this kind of DK, like a really, you know, very lightweight knit at a DK gauge, because that gauge is 21 stitches. And I actually thought, I'm just going to quickly grab it. Sorry. I try to be so organized and then I always forget something. So this is my Pearl Soho linen quill, not left over, but it's the vintage Celadon, and I was going to use that for my half and half wrap, but I didn't really love it with the other orange color that was like similar to this color. So I used an icy blue for that, but then now I've got 3 skeins of this. So that's 1200 meters, and 100 grams is 400 meters of this. So it's the same kind of like meterage as the Barocco Remix Light. So I was thinking maybe I could turn that Pyramid Light into a dress. I can knit these things so quickly in my head, and I can knit pretty quickly, but not that quickly. Not as quickly as I can think of things. But yeah, I was thinking that would look really, really lovely in this yarn. So that's one thing that's caught my eye, and I actually, yeah, I think I could really see myself making that in that. Another thing that has caught my eye is an Italian knitter, Francesca. I really love her podcast. She did one recently, and she was showing off an Italian summer scarf. And I thought, actually, that's quite a nice pattern. And it might even be a little bit easier than, or less to keep track of than the Sophie scarf, because with the Sophie scarf, you've actually got to sort of keep track of the increases a bit. Maybe you do with that pattern as well. But anyway, it's a free pattern. I haven't read through it yet, but yeah, I noticed it caught my eye, and I thought, oh, I'll mention it, because I do think that would be a nice, similar little lightweight and, you know, small little decorative scarf. Another thing that also seemed along that same vein is the Riptide 135 by Jennifer Shields Toland. So it's called a 135 because it's knit for a DK weight yarn. Knit on a DK weight yarn, but there's a small little one for 1 skein, a medium sized one with 3 skeins of DK, and a larger one with 5 skeins. That would be a very big shawl, 5 skeins of DK weight. So yeah, it looks quite fun to knit actually, and that's a paid for pattern, but it looks like a nice one. So that's the Riptide 135, which caught my eye. The other thing that caught my eye, I want to find the yarn that where is it? Here it is. That caught my eye is the Clover Tea Solo by Lindholm Samso, and that is knit out of it's so pretty. Like, I love the little clovers, just look like little flowers, just really sort of sprinkled, and it looks really decorative. Now that's knit out of Sandnes Garn Lena, which is a 20 stitch gauge summer weight kind of yarn, you know, like a sort of summer fibers, a blend. Now that's not easily, Sandnes Garn isn't easily accessible for me here in Australia. We don't have a lot of places that sell it. And I also am thinking, look, I have quite a lot of summerish yarns in my stash that I kind of could do with using. So I found this Ella Rae Silkians in my stash, and I thought maybe I might use that for the Clover Tea. I thought that would look quite pretty. And I have actually even swatched with this before. I think I get 19 stitches, so perhaps a little bit big. So I'd either need to go down a needle size or maybe knit a smaller size. I don't know, I haven't looked at the sizes yet, but I am excited about the idea of using stash yarn with some of those summer projects. The other thing that caught my eye, which I've shown before, is the Moonset Tea by Ozetta. I saw it on Leslie Friend, a friend to knit with, and she had made it, I think, out of the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which I do really love that my Cumulus blouse out of the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I did find it a bit of a slog to knit, but I would like to make that out of stash if possible, and I have heaps of 4-ply cotton. It's just whether I can deal with knitting with 100% cotton. I definitely can, but I just can't, that can't be the only thing I'm knitting on. I need to mix it up. But that's my style of knitting anyway. I'm rarely knitting on, I don't think I'm ever knitting on just one thing. So if I have my cotton thing, just knit a little bit on that. And I think because the Moonset Tea is quite a, you know, small gauge, it would take a bit of a while anyway. So I'd just be happy to do that as something that would just progress slowly in the background. So yeah, I'm going to have a bit of a look at my 4-ply cotton stash and see what might work. So many things. Right, so I think that's it for what has caught my eye. I'm coming up to plans. Obviously, all of these things are involved in my sort of larger picture of plans, but in terms of immediate plans, I was going to do an order from Bendigo Woolen Mills for the Whisper yarn, and I put everything in my cart, and then went to check out, and it said on back order, everything was on back order. It's like, oh, because I wanted to make a hat for this winter for my son, and you never know back order how long. I don't know, a week, 5 weeks, 3 months, I don't know. So I ended up just leaving everything in my cart and just going, okay. So I think I might just buy like a skein of yarn from my local yarn store when I go there, not this Saturday, next Saturday, so that I can get, because I don't have any, like, this is ridiculous, I have so much yarn in stash, but I don't have the right colour for my son, for a dark grey hat for him. So probably another Oslo hat, I think. Yeah, either that or a Musselburgh. I'll have to, depend on what there is at the yarn store. If it's 4-ply, I'll make a Musselburgh, although that would take a while. But if I can find like 8-ply or 10-ply, I'll make an Oslo hat. because I think that would be better, be quicker. Yeah, I think so. I might just get him to try on one of the Oslo hats to make sure he likes the style. Just ignore the colour. Just, you know, he's not going to like the ballerina one, but yeah, just at least that he likes the style of it. And if not, because I know he likes the muscle bra, and I could, you know, I could work on that pretty quickly to get it done for him. Right. Oh, and the other thing in my plans is, where is it? I've got, oh, here it is. So I bought this yarn a while ago on D-Stash. This is a Road to China Light in a colourway Cobalt, just one skein. And I made a Stacks hat for my friend in London who was going through chemo. She's doing really well, by the way, so that's really good news. So I made one out of the tan colour, and I thought I might make another one because there's a mum at my school who has gone through chemo, and so she's wearing a lot of hat wraps, and it's so cold here. Head wraps. Yeah, so I thought I might, so it's a mum of a current student that's in one of my classes, and I also taught one of her other children for 2 years running. So I would, yeah, I just thought it might be nice. She's a really lovely, brave woman. So I thought maybe I could make her, and this yarn is so soft. It's totally like wooden, no prickle factor at all. Yeah, so I think I will start that this week as well, or I'll try and get because it's the same needle size as my Oslo hat with Mohair. I might try and finish that one, and then I'll cast this one on, and then I'll also start something for my son, but that probably won't be for another 10 days because I won't be at the yarn store till not this Saturday, next Saturday. Right, okay, I think that's it for my plans, and that's it for the regular stuff in the podcast. So yeah, if you're leaving me now, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'm sure there'll be more progress next week. I'm sort of getting a lot of my personal sort of commitments out of the way, and we'll have soon a little more time for knitting, which is I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, so if you're leaving now, thank you so much for being here, and if you can like and subscribe if you haven't already, that would be lovely, and I'll see you next week. Right, personal stuff, lots of, you know, milestones are getting hit. My parent-teacher night is finished. I passed my experienced teacher application, so I got notification of that actually on the parent-teacher night. I was so relieved because it was so much work. So just so nice, because they do give you a chance to fix up anything if you don't pass any particular descriptors, but I passed on all of them, so which was first go, so I'm very happy about that. I did my presentation to the other maths teachers last night. That was meant to be a 2.5-hour Zoom last night, but I had some technical issues an hour and a half in and couldn't get them sorted, which was that was so frustrating. So I ended up just going into work this morning and finishing, like just doing a recording, and then they're sending that off to the participants so they can at least get the learning, but that was quite difficult. It was going really well though. I was on track for my timing. I was really happy. So that's done. My mum's back from overseas, so we had her over for dinner on Sunday night, so that was really lovely. And now it's just yeah, marking that I've got that have come in, and a holiday program that I've got to write lessons for. So and that's due by 1 July. So I think by 1 July, it's getting closer. Things might be just calming down a little bit for me. So in terms of things coming up, it's that I'm teaching at Skye and Sisters on the 22nd of June. I'm doing a fixing mistakes class, and that has got people booked in for it. The other one that doesn't have anyone booked in yet is knitting my first beanie, so that one might not go ahead, which is fine, but it's actually a really fun class, but it's more aimed at beginners, someone who's never knit in the round before, and, you know, learning how to do decreases and things like that. Yeah, so that's coming up, but I'm definitely doing the Fixing Mistakes class on that day. Coming up is I'm going shopping with my mum on Friday. I'm going to get a new iPad, which will be really helpful both for the podcast, but also with my teaching with maths. So I can actually, you know, write on the iPad with the pen and, you know, screen record and then upload it. It's just a really easy way to do questions for my students. And also perhaps for the channel too, I could do things where I've actually, like, you know, looking at things on, you know, on Ravelry and screen recording, and then having that as a I mean, I can do that on my phone as well, but yeah, I just thought that will make things a little bit easier. And my current iPad is so old that it's just, the battery's dying really quickly and it's glitching. So that's a really exciting thing that I've got coming up. And the other big thing coming up, it's not for a little while, but we've just booked a holiday to Bali in the October school holidays. I've never been there before. And my husband's American, and his mum and her husband are going to come out and meet us there. So it'll be a bit of a family holiday, also with my in-laws, so that'll be really nice. So I think that's all that's happened and is happening. I have so many things that I want to make, and I'm really, really excited. And I'm excited for being able to do some sewing and other craft as well. I've just had to put all of those things on the back burner while work was a little bit, excessive. Oh, the other thing was I have mentioned my arthritis. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. So I have made even with the prednisone, I've made an appointment with my rheumatologist. 31st of October is when I can get in. So I don't know what it is. Is it June, July, August, September, October? 5.5 months before I can see him. So I'm on a wait list. I don't know whether I'll get in any earlier. The prednisone is helping. It's just not, it usually clears it up. So yep, anyway, that's just, I guess that's what it is, right? Getting older. But yeah, given that I've had success with this medicine before, it's a little bit frustrating that and I don't really want to go rogue and start just upping my own dose. I might just talk to my GP about it in the meantime. Anyway, that's enough on that. Boring. Back to more exciting things. I'm really looking forward to having more time to work on my knitting and having more to show you. And when some yarn starts coming in, to show you that as well. Right, so that's it for the week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a week. Bye.